Okay, welcome everyone to today's library link up. Our library link up for this month is about fandom events. So I should introduce myself as well. My name is Charlie Taylor. I'm one of the CE consultants here at KDLA. I'm going to be facilitating the webinar today and just helping out all of our presenters. So I'll be helping you with any technical issues that you have during today's webinar. Please feel free to chat those in. And yes, we do have Ms. Krista King Oaks, our youth services consultant, here today as well. So if anything pops into your head, you got a question for Krista, please go ahead and chat that in. I'm sure she'll be monitoring that. And while I'm doing some housekeeping real quick here at the beginning, I encourage you to take our poll there. It's just to the left of the chat box about whether or not your library has done a fandom event. Have you put one on at your library? So are you here to find out maybe how to do things a little bit differently or improve in the future? You've never done one at all. You have no idea what one is, or maybe you're just not sure if your library has done one or not. So we'd like to get that information before we get started just to see where we are. So a couple of housekeeping things, as I mentioned. The presenters will be keeping an eye on the chat box, so you can chat in questions or comments for them as we go along. As I mentioned, chat in any technical issues that you may have, and I'll be happy to help out with those. At the end of the presentation, you'll be able to download your own copy of these slides. It will be in a PDF format. You'll download it directly from the online training room to your computer. It's a big download, so that's why I didn't send it out as a handout ahead of time. So I am also recording this webinar, so if there's something you missed, you might want to go back and review. Don't feel like you have to get everything down the first time. You can always go back and review it. So that will be posted within about a week. Also, at the end of, after today's presentation is over, I'll be sending you another email that will have a certificate of attendance attached. You can use that for your certification renewal if that's applicable. And you'll also be getting a link to a survey about this training, and we very much appreciate your responses on this training. So if you could just give us a minute of your time on that, that would be great. So I'm going to end the poll and show everybody what the results are. Looks like the majority of you have done a fandom event at your library, which is awesome. I know it was popular with the summer reading theme, so that's not a huge surprise from last year. We have 4 attendees who say no, they haven't done one. No, but a couple of them are planning, so that's great. There's some in the works. Hopefully you'll get lots of good ideas today. One person who is not sure about what fandom events are, and you have come to the right place. I'm telling you, these ladies today know their stuff. So, and you're not sure if you have in the past, that's okay. We're going to teach you all about it today. So I am going to get our slides moved over to our first presenters, and that is Jessica and Amy from the Perry County Public Library. So ladies, the floor is yours if you'd like to unmute your phone and come on.
Hello, I'm Jessica Chandler. I'm the Youth Service Librarian at Perry County Public Library. And I'm Amy Everso, and I am the Adult Services Librarian at Perry County. We host a Comic Palooza every August. We do a joint venture with the adults and the children. And we just want to do a little bit about what is fandom and how to use pop culture, literature, and fandoms to create your own library comic convention. We will answer questions during our slides and presentations, so feel free to ask. Things to know. The first thing you need to know is to have a basic understanding of what a convention is. I had a little bit of an upswing on Amy. I go to comic conventions, I go to anime conventions, and all a convention is a large meeting of a group of people who are involved in the same type of work or who have similar interests. Popular ones are like comic conventions, anime conventions, Star Trek, Star Wars. What do you do during a convention? A lot of people aren't sure what you do during a convention. There's all kinds of numerous activities to do during a convention, from perusing the sales floor, dressing for the cosplay competition, attending discussion panels, participating in gaming events, and so forth. And here's a good one. Where do I find ideas for my library Comic Con? You can attend conventions in your local area. Most of us, when you look at the libraries, you have a convention. They host them several times throughout the year, different types that you could go to within at least a 2-hour drive. You can attend conventions, search the internet for various convention website forums. Pinterest.com, Facebook.com are great places to find pictures with comments about the events that are going on in your area.
What is a fandom? Fandom is a term used to refer to a subculture composed of fans characterized by a feeling of empathy and camaraderie with others who share a common interest. You could say that fangirls, fanboys are very detailed, oriented, to the point of obsessive when it comes to their favorite fandom.
And we can say that I'm a fangirl. Why are fandoms important when hosting a convention? Comics, video games, anime, literature, and movies are the core interests of the people who visit these types of conventions. This audience has a passion for their particular fandom. And if you want to host a convention, you have to be in touch with what the audience wants. Supply and demand. If you don't understand the fandom, you please respect it. Someone may love it. By our powers combined, we had to throw in a little 90s there with Captain Planet, your library staff is key to hosting this event.
Technical Services orders the books, your graphic novels, and DVDs 2 months in advance to make sure that they are in and cataloged for the event. Your circulation desk members help fill the displays by pulling books matching the theme for that year. The Public Services Department promotes and prints all of the advertisement for the event. Program participants / volunteers from the community act as judges for the cosplay competition as the panel host during the discussion breakout sessions. Contact your local drama or art departments in the schools. This is a rich environment to find face painters, program participants or volunteers, or people to hire for your event.
Guys, this is really a community-based event. You have to get out there. For everything, there is a first time. Did a little bit of Star Trek quote for y'all. Start prepping at least 2 to 3 months prior to the event. Guys, this is a huge undertaking. You need to pick a theme, whether it's sci-fi, whether it's anime. You could do comics. You could do Marvel, Dark Horse, DC. You need to order your supplies. Contact your local vendors. Now, local vendors can range from artists, authors, store owners, and more. They usually set up with various wares that are centered toward pop culture. They may have items that are like T-shirts. Funko Pop vinyls are really big when you go to conventions. Blind bags. Now, blind bags are these little boxes that have like the little tiny toy figures in them. I just ordered a bunch of horror and sci-fi things. You don't know what you're going to get. That's the reason it's called a blind bag. Comics and more. And if you're hosting a one-day convention, be sure to request your work areas for the day before and the day after. You always need time for setup and for cleanup after the event. Decorate and promote the event well in advance of the date. I saw someone said they started 6 months ahead of time. We usually start a pretty good amount ahead of time, too. We order lots of pop culture's cardboard standees. We have posters, books, DVDs, and graphic novels. These are a good way to advertise in-house leading up to the event, because when people walk in, when your patrons walk in, they're going to be like, why do they have all these cardboard standees up? Why are these book displays out with this certain theme? And this is a good way to advertise it. And if you have access to a button maker, I managed to talk us, our people into it. It's really great. Or even a bookmark maker. This is a great way to advertise. People love to take the buttons. You can put your library's logo on it and put the date of your event. It's a really good way to advertise. We've also bought a lot of our stuff from websites like allposters.com. Amy, what was it we got last year as the grand prize for our comic cosplay?
We got a canvas poster done of Star Wars from Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and it was the movie poster where Han and Leia are in an embrace, and that was for a cosplay contest, and they loved it. It was a huge canvas, and we got a lot of interest out of that.
Let's just say staff thought about keeping it. That's how much we loved that big canvas poster. It was gorgeous. We order a lot of stuff from Amazon.com, Oriental Trading. You can find a lot of good stuff out there, guys, if you know what you're looking for. Now, basic events at a Comic-Con, you've got vendors on the sales floor. You've got artists and authors, discussion panels. You've got your cosplay competition, and that's highlighted for a reason. That is one of our biggest draws, is the cosplay competition, and we'll get more to that in just a minute. We have karaoke, children's area activities, face painting, video game competitions, card game competitions, trivia questions that are asked throughout the day where you get a small token to take with you if you get the right answer, people in costume to hand out balloons and programs for the event, items such as snacks or drinks.
Please remember you will have a varied age demographic. The age range for the Perry County Public Library Comicpalooza is birth to approximately 45 years of age. The Perry County Public Library uses the children's section to host all-day crafts, music, face painting, and we have a bubble machine that they absolutely love. They lose their minds over it.
They really do, just like all day.
And you can find your own bubble machine at Amazon, and ours is
we're trying to think, we think it's pronounced Chevette, the B250 bubble machine. It's the kind that you would order for like weddings. It's the industrial grade kind. From what I've seen on Amazon, they range from around $75 to $85. Cosplay rules for a family-friendly event. If you don't know what cosplay is, it is extremely popular and has formed an underground movement that has recently been pushed into mainstream media with like cosplay heroes. You see people dressing up online. And all cosplay is the practice of dressing up as a character from a movie, book, or video game, especially one from Japanese genres of manga or anime. And it's costume play. It's really great. It's so much fun. We do a dress code, and that's because certain characters are mostly nude. If you don't believe me, Google Lady Death. She's a comic character. It's a string bikini. The bits and pieces are not very covered. So at the Perry County Public Library, we made a generalized rule that nudity is banned, body paint is not a costume, and you must be covered from the thighs to the chest area. Like I said, we are a mixed audience. We are going to have from ages birth to 45 years old. Weapons. No working bows, no metal or wooden objects. You may not do battles in the library. Trust me, you think you may not have to state this, but you do. The last thing you want is a lightsaber battle in the middle of your foyer. It will happen. So important to put this up. We put this up ahead of time. We do this advertisement when we start doing the advertisement for the whole thing, because we have people that have questions. What can I have with my costume? What is suitable? What's not suitable? And to find out a more in-depth list of generalized rules, you can visit well-known convention sites like DragonCon.org. That's hosted down in Georgia. They get 50,000 people in a 3-day period. OhioCon, that is an anime convention up north in Ohio. You can go on there, and they have their list and rules situated for their weapons, for their cosplay contests. This is a good site to pull from to get ideas for your convention.
Cosplay contest, our age categories. We always have ages 0 to 12, ages 13 to 18, and ages 19 and up. You can do a group, 2 or more people of any age. You can do single, which is 1 person. Overall, this is the best costume out of all of the contestants. If you win an age group, you cannot win the overall, and you cannot participate as a single and then join in as a group.
To avoid any conflict of interest, the judges are always members of the community. You can find generalized templates to judge by, or you can make up your own criteria. Now, at the Perry County Public Library, we have a rule that a homemade costume will always have the edge over a store-bought or commissioned costume. This contest is about effort and detail. You wouldn't take a store-bought pie to the county fair and expect to win. It's the same concept. It's not fair that you're winning this good prize just because you had more money to buy it. The judges are not allowed to participate in the cosplay competition. Our library, as a courtesy, provides thank you gifts and light refreshments for all the volunteers during the convention. And prizes for the cosplays winners are really up to the library's discretion. A great place to find items, hottopic.com. They actually have a pop culture section when you go on to hottopic.com. So if you're not quite sure what pop culture is, it'll give you the list of stuff to go through. Another one is thinkgeek.com. They have got the coolest stuff. I buy from it personally. We're all librarians. I have a messenger bag in the shape of a book. It's awesome. And Amazon.com, just to name a few.
Discussion panels. Discussion panels can be a lecture, a Q&A, or just a good-natured, heated debate. The Perry County Public Library uses community members and staff to host these panel discussions. Previously discussed panels have been Marvel versus DC Comics, fan fiction, love it or hate it, you know you love it, and Star Wars.
We thought that things were going to be thrown during the Star Wars panel last year. We got heated. They were really, really into it. It was great.
And I maintain that Han shot first, just to clear that up. These are usually 1-hour panels that can involve handouts, hands-on activities, and PowerPoints, and or the use of YouTube videos. You can decide your own panel topics or ask your patrons what they would like to see discussed with a public poll. This may also help you to find people who can host the panels.
And just for concern, you might have your host submit their panel discussion outline to you 1 to 2 weeks before the event, so you know exactly what will be discussed and see if changes needed to be made. Remember, this is a mixed age group. If you want to put a kind of like a rating on your panels, because you might have some that want to talk about Deadpool and the new Deadpool movie and show clips. That's a rated R movie. You might want to just put up parental discretion. So you just kind of really need to keep on track on who you're hosting. We pull a lot of community members just because I know a lot of people that love this sort of stuff. We've hit up the community college. We do our biggest high school in the area. We hit up the drama department. These teachers are all about helping. They're used to presenting. It's a really good chance to get involved with your community members. Key points to remember. This is our last slide of the day, and I had to throw in SpongeBob for, FUN is for fun. Be sure to pick your date 2 to 4 months in advance. If you're anything like us, our meeting rooms fill up super fast. As early as you can get it in, get it in. This is just the minimum. If you can do it 6 months in advance, if you can pre-pick that date a year in advance, do it. Pick a name and theme for the event. That just gives everybody a generalized feel of what it's going to be like for that year. Order supplies at least 2 to 3 months in advance. That way you know it's going to be in. Involve all members of your library staff and community volunteer participants. Contact your local businesses, your crafters, your artisans, your authors. Set up booths at these events. This is a good way to involve your community with the library and just promote the local economy, which we all kind of need. Promote at least 4 to 8 weeks leading up to the event. Make sure all staff is on hand to run this event. Guys, you are going to need everybody, and I do mean everybody. They need to have designated jobs with break and lunch relief in place. You just can't leave an area unattended. They have to have somebody there. You're going to have people coming in. Last year and the year before, we've had at least 500-plus people come in for a 5-hour convention. Make an itinerary to hand out the day of the event, telling the location, description, and the time of the events taking place during the convention. I recently had HR send us a blank copy of our floor plan. That way I can highlight my floor plan, print it off, and they'll know that the pink area will have the discussion panels, that the yellow area is the cosplay competition. That way they know where to go. This will be a large event, so be sure to have all the restrooms well stocked throughout the day. Guys, this is so easy to forget. You get everything done, and you're like, yeah, we're good to go, and we're out of toilet paper. Make sure to have everything on hand.
And we really did say 500. That's as many as we have had for our event. It's been that way for the past few years. And we always do ours the second Saturday in August. So if you're ever in Perry County, you should hop on down and come see us. Did anybody else have any questions?
I do, Amy. What's the most important thing to remember?
Make sure that you have toilet paper.
Or
most of all, remember that you need to have fun.
But that's our presentation for the day, and we really want to thank you guys for listening to us. And I'm Jessica Chandler, the Perry County Public Library and Youth Service Librarian. If you need to contact us, jchandler@perrylib.org.
Or you can contact me, Amy Eversole, and that is A-Eversole, E-V-E-R-S-O-L-E, at perrylib.org.
And Jessica and Amy, thank you very much. We did just have one question come in from Bobby. Do you have local businesses donate food or prizes for your convention?
We have had businesses set up before. Was it Ponderosa gave out free ice cream? We have just other people. Most of them set up to sell stuff. We are very fortunate enough that we're able to purchase our items.
Plan B will sometimes leave like a collection of like graphic novels that they leave out with us, and we'll give out throughout the day. So yeah, we do get, you know, you can hit up your businesses that you know that love your library, and a lot of them, to get their name out there for the good publicity, sometimes they will give you donations to use. And if you can do that, by all means, utilize that.
Oh, yes. It looks good for them. It looks good for us. We love it. Community partnership.
Excellent. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. Our next presenter for today is Lindsay from the Louisville Free Public Library. So, Lindsay, it looks like your slides are up, and you can unmute your phone and come on and take over.
Okay, awesome. Hello. Thank you. I'm Lindsay. I work for Louisville Free Public Library, and I just wanted to say thank you to Perry County. You guys included some amazing details. I'm going to echo some of the stuff that you guys had said as well, but you just had wonderful details included. So my library system is 18 different locations throughout Jefferson County, and in 2015, our city was really fortunate, and we relocated the library that I was working at the time, the Southwest Regional Library, to a brand new, huge 40,000 square foot building. And of course, with a huge community investment like that, they wanted us to do some pretty big events to help showcase, you know, all the money that they spent. So I was working as the teen programming supervisor at the time, and kind of in a brainstorming meeting with me and the fellow supervisors, we were seeing all of these other fandom events pop up from other libraries throughout the city and the state and, you know, other areas around the country. And I contacted one that a staff member had recently gone to, and I kind of asked them some basic detail background. I was like, do you mind if I use this idea? And the cool thing about libraries and library staff is they're wonderfully open to access of information and sharing. And she said, no, fantastic, use it. You know, kind of if you need any questions, if you have anything, absolutely, you know, let me know. So we kind of started on this adventure, and in 2015, we had the very first random fandom at LFPL at the Southwest Regional location. And I really wanted it to be a team effort. Since I was a regional team supervisor, I wanted to get all of the knowledge and the staff talent from the area, and I wanted to make it a really big event. You know, some fandom events aren't as big, some can be really small, and that's what you have to decide is what is my goal? And I had crazy goals. I wanted like 1,000 people to show up, so I wanted it to be huge. And I started down this road, so we got a programming team together from, I think, 6 library locations in the area. And it turned out to be fantastic because, honestly, on my own, I'm not a huge fandom person. You know, I couldn't answer any of the trivia questions that we had for the day, but I knew the people who could answer those and who could put them together. And that's what it's all about. It's bringing the talent. You know, Perry County talked about the talent of your staff, and it really is very true. We don't have a huge budget at LFPL. I think I did this whole event for about $200. But because of the talent and the staff that you rely on, you can actually get a whole lot done on a pretty small budget. So we started planning, you know, months in advance, just like Perry County talked about. We started planning about 6 months in advance. And we had a planning team together, and every time we came together, we would brainstorm and get a huge list of stuff. And my role as sort of the organizer and leader was to take the huge amount that people had thrown into the brainstorming meetings and sort of distill it all into a doable event. I made the decisions when they needed to be made. I kind of helped keep people in the right focus, but I was definitely not the talent behind this day. We had so many really talented staff members. We had trivia contests. This year we had a Doctor Who and a Star Wars trivia. Last year we had a Brony. And I think we also had another Doctor Who trivia. The Doctor Who was really very popular. What I didn't realize was going to be so popular, but I should have, was our Brony Trivia was the most attended event of the entire day. And it was adorable. You would have high school senior boys helping out like elementary school little girls trying to answer these questions and be on the same team. So the thing I love the most about the Fandom events is that everybody just comes together and they're so passionate and they just want to share their love of all of these different shows and movies and things that they've all come together with. So it was pretty adorable. Last year, our focus was just for teens, and we had about 250 people show up. This year, we changed it to be an all-ages audience, and we just over doubled it. So we had a little over 500 people showed up. So as I was saying with the planning, it is really all about the staff that you work with. People you may not even realize are talented or passionate about all of this stuff will be able to come together and bring this stuff to the table. And that's all. You just got to connect with community partners. Like Perry County was saying, I relied really heavily on community partners. People in fandom genres, they go to conventions, they love to be passionate and they want to share what they know and what they're passionate about. So I did a lot of community partner solicitation. I did have donations for our cosplay contest prizes. A local comic shop was super awesome, and they donated $50 for the two categories of our cosplay contest. Since we did all ages this year, that's the other thing. The first year was just teens oriented, and this year we went to all ages. We had so much feedback from people that were younger or older than our original demographic. This is such a huge area that people want to attend to, and if you make it free, normal conventions cost a lot of money to go to, and having an entirely free event is a really good draw for people. So I had lots of community partner involvement. I had vendors that wanted to come. We, in the past, have never been allowed to sell anything at our events, and we just got a new director of the library who approved being able to sell stuff. So that was a big change, too. And that's a big part of conventions. I had it told to me over and over and over again, people come to these things, and part of the reason they come is to buy all like the knick-knacky swag stuff. So it was a huge improvement being able to sell stuff. And everybody who came was really reasonable. They would sell comics for $1 or like little things like that. So the artist that I was able to connect with, we had a local graphic artist came and did commissioned portraits for I think $10. And that's him at the bottom with all of his art displayed behind him. So we had just tons and tons of community partners, and everybody was really, really wonderful. And once you get involved and you start meeting this community, it just completely snowballs. And I feel like I lucked into so much of what happened for the last 2 years, but once you just meet one person and get connected, you'll meet everyone else, and they're so excited to, oh, have you met this person? And oh, do you know this person? And I was really lucky. I was able to meet Dr. David West Reynolds that way. He lives over in New Albany, but he is the world's leading Star Wars archaeologist. I had no idea even such a thing existed, but yeah, that is Kevlin, absolutely. And he's really, really, he just did so wonderfully there that day. But Dr. David West Reynolds has a ginormous collection of Star Wars memorabilia, and he actually worked on the movies for a while. And he believes in the purest attitude of education. So he worked so hard and lent us all of his stuff, came and set up dioramas, came and did so much stuff for us just out of generosity and the kindness. He wasn't expecting anything back with it. And that is the wonderful part of all of this type of community, is that most of them are not going to be looking for too much as a handout back. A lot of these people will do it for you for very little cost or completely free. Kevlin donated his time. He did a presentation with us, and then also a appointment-only art instructional class and portfolio review. So we tried really hard to make it some educational components as well, but also just really fun. And how neat is it to say, I had an art class by somebody who's been, published in some leading comics or graphics and has been working all over, the country doing things like this. And we were able to take some of his art and blow it up on a large format printer and print it up and hang it up behind us. So we'd had lots of different areas and different stations around the library. These are a couple of the promotional materials that we handed out. We had maps of the floor plan and the different areas of the day. The Random Fandom logo is what our community relations department came up with. And we really wanted to try to make it to be very professional. You know, when this type of community goes to cons, like Perry County was talking about, they're used to, all of these people will have traveled, you know, up to 200 miles or more to go to national conventions. And I really wanted it to be spectacular and on par with that. So we had name badges. When you came in, you had to register. You had to sign up for the cosplay contest if you wanted to. You got a map with the layout for the day and all the locations. And that is actually me at the bottom on the teen and adult side in the Stormtrooper hat. That was Dr. David West Reynolds. So that's a little, might be my last year planning this event, so they did a little shout out to me at the bottom of the map. But we really wanted it to be professional and not just, oh, I'm going to a lame library event, because these people take these things really seriously. There's an organization, a nonprofit organization called the 501st Legions, and they will come, you solicit a date for an appearance, and they come as stormtroopers, and we had Darth Vader coming out to his music, and like all of these different things, and they got to walk around the library for the whole day, and their whole role is to take pictures. We did not sell shirts, so that's a big thing, is part of our library does not allow us to really sell much. So the vendors themselves could sell, but as a library, we do not allow selling. So we weren't able to sell the shirts, but a lot of people asked us about that. The staff all got shirts. We made up our own shirts and bought them ourselves. But if our director ever let us sell shirts, holy moly, we would make a killing off those things. And we also give away posters at the end of the day, too. So 501st, I just went to their website. I just Googled like 501st Legions, and you can do contact and request an appearance. It's really easy, and since they've done it for us for the last couple of years, I've gotten on a personal basis with one of the commanding officers named Ben, and they're really sweet guys. And actually, we had 8 people show up today, or in March. My event was March 26th, so we had 8 people show up this year. Last year we were lucky to get 2, and each year you do this event, it will grow and grow and grow. That's the biggest thing that I've learned. And this year we were like, oh, you know, every year it gets bigger and more people will get excited about it, and your repeats will get more involved and want to help you more and more too. So this year, the 501st had 8 people. We had to give them a changing center and stuff like that, but they're really, really, really nice people. So I drove around for promoting. I drove around to every single comic and game shop in Louisville. I spent days passing out stuff, calling people, getting people involved, and promotion is a really big deal. We had our poor director of community relations, Paul, was out at my library at 4:30 in the morning filming news clips. So the most you can get, you know, the word out there. Yeah, Paul is the best. But obviously, you know, this is the hardest thing for libraries is to get word out there. We can't, or at least in Louisville, we can't do billboards. We're operating on kind of like a shoestring budget. So for $200, you know, I just drove around all day getting the word out. And once you can kind of get the word into the community, and the more years in a row you do it, the more word gets out there. And then they start to expect it. So every March, you know, they're going to start to expect, oh, the library's going to have this Random Fandom event. And that's really how you guys start to build momentum for this stuff. So I drove around, I promoted it like crazy, and that's kind of what happened with ours. So improving it. Every year, expect something to go wrong. So the first year, since all of these presenters are doing it with a generosity of their time, they'll wake up morning of and suddenly, you know, they're not feeling good. Or this year, I was trying to get a local high school's Brony Club to come in and do a panel, and then morning of, you know, all of the high schoolers decided they didn't want to come, and so I was left with an open room. So just be prepared for, you know, last-minute stuff to go wrong. Try to stay calm. There's absolutely nothing that you can do day of freaking out, worrying yourself, making yourself, really stressed isn't going to change anything. And just focus on all of the fun that people are having around you. And just try to manage and do what you can do. I had thank you bags for all of our vendors and presenters who gave their time and included a bottle of water, a granola bar, and a thank you note. So, try to focus on the things that you can control. I was handing those out. I was making sure all of the 501st had everything that they needed because it was really warm. So I went and got them water. We had a light issue. All of the new electrical outlets in our brand new year-old building stopped working in one of the big rooms. So, stuff happens. It's going to, you just got to roll with it and manage what you can do and worry about the stuff that you can control. And then for the future, the current location that it's at is the new regional library. Next year is going to be our second of 3 regional libraries to be opening in Louisville. And so there's talk of moving it to that location to try to showcase that new building. There's been talk of moving it to the main library location downtown Louisville since Southwest is kind of far out. So every year we kind of reevaluate. I get the planning team back together. We talk about, what went right, what went wrong. I am running around the whole day trying to handle stuff. So I don't actually really get to enjoy much of the event, which is kind of a bummer. Oh, thank you for putting up the link to the 501st. That's awesome. You really have to trust what Perry County was saying. Get all of your staff involved and really trust that you don't have to follow up with them. Trust the people that you're working with. I have just an amazing team of people that I work with at LFPL, and I don't have to really worry about them. So I'm free to handle kind of what needs to happen. But we had people from the Fairdale Library running the trivia contest. We had people from main library locations and, Shawnee Library locations running other things and help staffing events and making sure things were taken care of. So really, and poor Paul Burns was running around, our community persons, taking care of everything else that I'd forgotten about. So really, you rely on everybody else and just know that you're in a team. And, I had never done Shrinky Dinks. We always have a craft every year. I'd never done Shrinky Dinks before, and I stuffed 4 people in a room with 4 really hot toasters, and I was like, here you go, figure it out. So you really have to rely on the people. Library staff are amazing. That is, consistent throughout every library location across, probably the world, and that really, we are fantastic, resourceful people who love to share these passions. And, however your day, big or small, it's going to be amazing because the people in this community are pretty passionate and love to help out and share. So that is pretty much my presentation. Does anybody have any questions or anything that I didn't go over? I would say rely on all the people around you. That is, if you get nothing else, staff and community partners are amazing.
Thank you, Lindsay. This is Charlie just popping in. I just wanted to, I think I typed this into the chat, but I just wanted to thank you for mentioning that you don't have to feel like you need to know a lot about this stuff to put on one of these events, because I wonder if sometimes people get intimidated by, maybe they're not the hugest fandom person, but they still want to have one, that, you can get help from your community or other librarians.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know anything about putting gaming systems together, but one of the rooms was a whole gaming area. We put all the equipment in there and told our teams to set it up, and they did. The people who come to these events want to help out too and want to be involved. So even if you know very little about it, it's still going to be great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate your time. Okay, our next presenter is Leah from Laurel County. So Leah, you can come on and take over the presentation.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Am I good? Thank you guys for joining us today. I feel like I might repeat some of the other things that some of the other presenters have said, but let's just keep rolling because, the more ideas that we hear and the more times that we hear it, the more likely it is to stick with us. So I'm going to present today the 5 tips for planning a children's Comic-Con because my program last year was specifically geared toward children, elementary school. This year, we actually have added the teams that will take place next week. So if you call me after the 16th or email me after the 16th, I can let you know how that went. And that's something that we're really excited about, to add that age group to our program. And, perhaps next year we'll add the adults in. So my first tip is to keep it local. Like the other presenters have said, there are so many resources in our town, in your towns. You just have to take the time to find them. Take the time to email your schools. Take the time to contact your local comic book stores. If you don't have one in your town, perhaps the nearby town has a comic book store. Like I said, with the high schools, there are cosplay clubs. There's anime clubs. There's a lot of teachers in my community that like to dress up and go to these conventions. So, use them, utilize them, because they're happy to come out and help out, oftentimes for no fee. Find other heroes in your town. Think about the police officers, firefighters, military that you can come in. And that's one thing we did last summer with our Children's Comic-Con. We had some of the city police officers come out, and they did story times with the kids. Just kind of randomly, as a large group of kids would come through, they would stop and read stories to the kids. They passed out packets. And one of the pictures that I've got, on this slide, is one of my really good friends, Sergeant Travis Hurley, who comes, throughout the year and does story times for me, just because he's a good guy, and they want to get, the word out that police officers are there to help. So, they're happy to come out and do that. So think outside of the superhero box, and I'm sort of touching on my next slide, but think of these other heroes that you've got in your town. Utilize library staff who have hidden talents. The picture in the middle of my slide is Batman and Robin, and I believe that's Nightwing, standing in front of a bat cave that 2 of the circulation staff members built. The next picture is inside the bat cave, where one of our IT guys took the time to set up a screen, brought a large TV screen in there, set it up so it looked like Batman's station that he works at in his bat cave. So it was really cool. So find staff members at the library that are willing to help out, and they're there. You'll find them, and they've got hidden talents that you may not realize they had. I did not know that the 2 ladies on the circ staff would be able to build a bat cave, or would even be interested in building a bat cave. But we ended up with a really great prop that we could use for our Comic-Con, that people could stand in front of and take pictures, that Batman was able to use. So it was really cool. Find local artists that can face paint. I know last year I used some retired school teachers that came out. They were happy to do it. Find somebody local that can do balloon animals. I know we did ray guns last year, and we did swords. It was things that he could produce pretty quickly that tied into the event. Now, I did see a few random Olafs and other random characters floating around, but for the most part, he did ray guns and swords that the kids could use. Find somebody who can demonstrate anime or manga, different artists in your community, and then that a lot of high school students are happy to show off their talent, and they're proud of those things. So keep it local. Find local things. There's nothing wrong with going outside the community, but see who's in your community that's more than happy to help out. My second tip is to think outside the superhero box. This was a problem that I had. I am not a fandom person. I don't consider myself super cool, so I didn't really understand last year when I started doing this that to do a Comic-Con doesn't mean strictly Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. It's not all superheroes, and that's something that we're adding this year. We do have we're going to do some Doctor Who activities. We have created a TARDIS that the kids can stand in front of and get their picture. We were fortunate enough to get a gigantic box, so we have painted it blue. We have transformed it into a TARDIS. So, that's something really cool that we've added this year. Think about Pokemon. Think about Star Wars, book characters, Harry Potter, video game characters, and don't forget the villains, because everybody loves a good villain. And, there are many, many more. I know somebody mentioned earlier My Little Pony. That's something that we had talked about, perhaps doing this year. So there are a lot of other things outside of your typical superhero. And like I say, that's what I first immediately thought of when, we started talking about the Comic-Con, was only superheroes. But there are many other things that you can tie in to this type of event. My third tip is to start small, but don't start too small. Don't overwhelm yourself the first year. If you are anything like me, you will try to take on too much. So take my advice. Remember that each year you can add new things. You know, like I said, last year we started out fairly small. Last summer we were undergoing a renovation, so I was limited on space. This year our renovation is complete. We've got a new auditorium that I can kind of expand into. So do what you can do. You know your patrons, you know your customers better than anybody. So do what will work best for your community and for your patrons and for you. And remember, you can always make adjustments for the next year if something doesn't quite go as planned. I know last year I mentioned that we had face painters. That sort of bogged down that there were so many people here for that event because we had roughly 600 people attend over a 4-hour period. So our poor little face painters sort of got bogged down. They did a great job. They stayed after to make sure every kid that wanted their face painted actually got it painted. But this year we're going to do a tattoo station. So the kids can come through and get a tattoo that ties into the Comic-Con theme. It's a little bit quicker to do, and it's something that lasts a little bit longer than face paint. You know, we'll try that this year, and next year we'll see what happens. We may do both. I don't know. So, excuse me. So do what works best for you and your patrons. Sorry, my fourth tip is plan, 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 but be prepared to go with the flow. Last year I sat down and I worked with some of the other library staff to think about how we wanted the crowd to flow. So we had different stations set up throughout the library. You walked in, you could go meet the local comic book store. They had things that they handed out. They had a few little small trinkets that they sold. Then you could get your face painted. The balloon artist was back, as you kind of veered through the library. And in the very back of the library, we had some black curtains, and you'll see those in a second with some of the pictures that we've taken, where the kids could line up and go through and do a meet and greet. So it was sort of, I've visited Disney World several times, the way they do their characters, so that the characters aren't rushed by a crowd of kids. So it's more controlled. The kids stand in line, they wait their turn, and there's a staff member there to kind of herd everybody through a little bit quicker. That way everything doesn't get bogged down and Batman's not overtaken by 30 small children. Make sure you plan activities for all ages that will be attending. I know last year I had, coloring pages for the smaller kids. We had masks that the kids could color. Then I also had some, they were sort of like paper dolls that the kids could cut out. One of them was Batgirl, and then we had Thor that they could cut out, and they had the little pieces that they could make. So that was, for a little bit older kid. Plan how much staff you're going to need for your event and make sure everybody knows exactly where they need to be. And that's something that some of the other presenters have touched on. Just make sure everybody knows their location, if they're going to be in the children's department over the table with the masks, if they're going to be at the character meet and greets, if they're going to be at the face paint station. Just make sure everybody has a task and make sure they know where to go and what they're going to be doing. Will your event require extra staff to be scheduled? I know we are going to have some extra maintenance on staff that day, and like the ladies from Perry County mentioned, make sure you've got toilet paper, but that's something that you don't always think about, and your maintenance staff will be a big help in that instance. So make sure you've got plenty of staff on hand. I know this year we'll have all of the children's staff, the teen librarian, some of the adult programmers. The circulation staff will be increased that day, as well as the maintenance staff. So just make sure you've got everything covered there. Think about how you're going to advertise your event. Is it going to be in the local paper? Will you put it on your Facebook page? Will you do flyers? Will you have it in your calendar? Or are you going to do all of those things? Make sure you have all of those planned out in advance, all of your logos, all of your graphics, everything that you want out. If it's going to deal with other departments, like I know my IT department is really great to work with, and they help me make video clips that I put on the Facebook page to kind of help promote things. Make sure they know in advance, don't catch them off guard, that, hey, can we make a video today? So just, think about all those things, how you're going to advertise it if you need to include extra staff. And regardless of how many hours you spend planning, it is inevitable that something unexpected will happen. I'm not going to say that it's going to be something bad. It's just going to be unexpected. So be prepared to go with the flow. And my last tip is have fun. Library programs do not have to be quiet. And I am a loud librarian. I like to have a lot of fun. My kids like to have a lot of fun. And I don't think that everything needs to be so stuffy and so quiet all the time. And remember, my event's going to be 4 hours. So it's 4 hours out of the entire year that we're going to be a little extra noisy in the library, and I think that is fine. So make noise, have fun. The kids we are working with today will remember the exciting programs that they attended. So make the library a place they want to continue to visit. Some really fun Comic-Con activities, do the character meet and greets, do face painting, do tattoos, do book displays, because I know my book displays were a really big thing that the kids really liked last year, and that increases your circulation stats too, so keep that in mind. Do some photo booths, do video clips. I know I came across something that was really cool. It was TED Ed superhero science, the science behind superheroes, science behind flight, the science behind x-ray vision. So that's something that we're going to have kind of playing in the background that the kids can kind of watch while they're standing in line to meet the characters. Think about costumes, costume contests, different crafts that the kids might be able to do, games, prizes, and don't forget music. Background music is always, something that we do for a lot of our events, for our quilt shows or our book, just different things. We like to have background music. It just kind of makes everything sound nice, and, that way it's not so dead quiet. In my last couple of slides are just some pictures, different pictures of different things that we had set up. There's one in the children's department. We had a table set up with all of the activities the kids could just kind of come at their leisure and do. They could take them with them. The black curtains came in handy if you don't have, the option to have the curtains like we do. The tablecloths that you can buy at the Dollar Tree or Walmart would be fine to tack up, just so you've got a nice background for your pictures. Everything turns out good. We did have some plastic chains that we put up in front of the black curtains. That way, like I said before, it's sort of crowd control for my superheroes. That way they weren't rushed by all of the kids. And then I love that bottom picture with the little boy sitting in the chairs reading the book. So they took advantage of the book displays that we had set up. And then we've got the Hulk. Of course, we've got the Hulk. The kids in the chairs are enjoying a story time with Sergeant Hurley, the police officer from the city police who joined us. And he's actually in the next picture with all of the superheroes there. He is in the middle. What I have learned so much that, it's a lot of fun. I realize maybe I am a little more cool than I thought I was originally. I'm learning as I go, so just keep in mind every year can get bigger and bigger. If you all have any questions, or anything, just, feel free to email me. My email address is on the last slide. If it would flip to it. So feel free to email me or contact me anytime. And like I say, next Saturday, we actually do have our next Comic-Con, and it will include the team. So contact me after that. I'll let you know how that goes. I can send out some pictures. It's something that we're really excited about. So guys, thank you very much. I hope that I've given you some ideas, and I know I've learned some ideas from the other presenters. I've been taking notes also. So thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Leah. And I wanted to, she's got her email address here on the last slide, and I meant to point out earlier that on the PDF, or as well as the last slide of the presentation, we'll have all the presenters' emails. So you'll be able to get all those down at the end of the presentation. So our next presenter is Valerie from Campbell County. She's going to talk about the Northern Kentucky cosplay. So Valerie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. The cosplay that I take part in is a much smaller scale one, and what it started as is back in 2009, I was talking to people from the two counties that are closest to where I am, and Campbell County, for anybody who doesn't know it, is up in the very northern part of the state, and we are very close to both Kenton and Boone. And we were just talking about how we had started anime clubs and how much the kids like talking about things, and we decided that we wanted to find a way to get the kids talking to each other. And because sometimes at that point, it's back in 2009, it seemed to be less easy to find a cosplay or something to go to, and so we wanted to give them a place to go. So we came up with our very first Northern Kentucky cosplay. And I have to learn to move the slides there. So this is our current poster for it. And what happens is that all three of the counties produce it. And we send something out. I send it out to my high schools. I know the other counties do. Our PR promotes it. And it happens at one of the buildings. This past year was at Boone County's main branch because they have a very nice, large meeting space. And it happens once the library closes, which was something we really wanted because that way the teens in the beginning didn't feel weird about coming in any costumes. And at that point, it just became a thing. Everybody got used to doing it that way. So once the building closes, our cosplay starts. But there is a great deal of work that we talk for months beforehand about what everybody's going to do and how everything's going to go. And at this point, thankfully, it is fairly normal what we all know we're going to do, but every year we go back and we think about everything again. But the first thing we talk about is the snacks. It's teens. They love snacks. And they always love Pocky. Pocky is their favorite thing, and I am very lucky that we have some very nice Asian marts near us, so we can get some of the strange flavors of Pocky. But our local Kroger carries like 3 different flavors, even if you can't get to an Asian mart, and Amazon has them at all times. So, but the kids love them. I'm a personal addict. As I see people saying they love Pocky, I'm a personal addict of the strawberry Pocky. It tastes like strawberry quick to me. It's amazing. But to go with that, you have all sorts of other snacks. You have the normal snacks, and it keeps the kids moving along. But beyond that, the next thing is the games and activities. This has grown over the years. It started very small because none of us knew what we were doing, and we all kind of just threw out, maybe the kids can do this. And to be honest, over the years, we've learned, but the kids have also taught us what they want. So we have a ring toss for Ramuki, I can never say it, but it's drinks, and they have glow-in-the-dark bracelets that if you get one, you get to take the drink with you, and the kids seem to think, thank you, Krista. I was just looking at that. So, but if you get one of the drinks, you get to keep it, and the kids go crazy over it. We have karaoke, and they love that too, and we have board games, and we tend to do different board games, and I'm always surprised at how much my teens love Settlers of Catan. I was shocked when my teens wanted a commodities game. Surprised me in all sorts of ways. Part of the reason that we started the collaboration was there was, yes, Settlers. None of us had an extraordinarily large group of teens that wanted to do it, but they all seemed to be nervous about sharing in the beginning. And, they were happy once they were in their group, but the minute that they would leave our teen area, they didn't seem to want to share with anybody, because fandom seems super cool now, and as an adult you can say, if I like something, you don't have to like it too, but quite a few years back, it wasn't quite as easy for them to be, even now people kind of look at bronies differently, but in 2009, if you would have told somebody that you were a brony, they would have been very afraid. So it started that way, and the kids, actually, it's so fun to me to watch friendships form across counties. It's just really great. So we've kind of kept it that way because it expands their horizon. And I always think anything you can do to expand a teen's horizon, you get greater responses from. So beyond that, we always have crafts, too. We have done cube crafts, which are the only thing they cost is you printing them off on a printer. And there are cube crafts for every fandom, every cosplay you can think of. There are superhero cube crafts. There are Star Trek, Star Wars, anything. I personally love, somebody mentioned villains before. I'm an addict of Harley Quinn, so I always find the Harley Quinn cube craft to do. We've done, this year we had superhero origami. We've had somebody come in as an artist from a college to draw. I have to say I am the Batman the Animated Series Harley. That's my thing. Thank you. So we've had people come in and do caricatures. We've had dance contests. We do a little bit of everything. We have music playing at all times, but the teens get to pick the music. We tend to have a few songs going at first, and then within a minute, teens are running in telling us what songs they want to play. And sometimes they're opening themes to animes. Sometimes they're this past one, which just happened a few weeks ago, it was very big on K-pop, which if you don't know what K-pop is, it's Korean pop. It was very big on K-pop. And I thankfully have a teen who loves K-pop, so I knew all of the songs, and it just made me chuckle that I knew them all. But we've had the costume contest for us is big too. What we do at this point is, as a teen comes into the room, or right before they come in, they're given a picture, they're given a number to hold, and somebody takes a picture. And throughout the rest of the cosplay, there are pictures on iPads that teens can scan through, and they get to just vote. And the teens love that they can vote. And it's cute because eventually we used to see people going, I'm always going to vote for myself. But now you see teens wandering the room, seeing who they're going to vote for, and they just get into it so much, and it's great. When we started doing the cosplay, most of what everybody dressed up as were anime characters. But it has grown to, as we've seen other people saying, it has grown to video games characters. It has grown to TV show characters. We've had some Supernatural. We've had a few Sherlocks. This past year, I was super giddy because, as I've already said, somebody came as Harley, and I squealed loudly. But the other one that was my absolute favorite is from Legends of the Guardian. Somebody came dressed as Jack Frost, and I just thought that was so fantastic. And so they go through that. We've also had our ups and downs with it. We've learned in the past that we cannot let them do skits because some of the skits were beyond uncomfortable, and you don't want to grab and make a teen get off stage. But there was one that was a Whose Line Is It Anyway version of a anime cosplay that just went downhill fast. And so we slowly decided we weren't going to do that anymore. We have done video contests. We've basically let the teens guide us to what they really enjoyed. So the next thing is one of my favorite things, and if you would put up the quiz, I would appreciate it, the poll. Something that started on our very first cosplay because we ran out of things to do because we did not properly guess how much we would need to do is people started saying, one of the librarians from Kenton County had some Japanese food, and so she just started feeding it to the kids, seeing who would eat it. So here is a list of some of the most recent scary food contests, and the question is, which of these is the one that made teens drop out the quickest? And this has become something that, as I said, the first time we did it in 2009 was a pure accident. And now the teens come in asking if we are going to do it every year. And it gets funnier and funnier to me that these teens know that they're going to be grossed out at some point, but they are in it to win it. And the prize for the scary food and everything else that there's a prize for is, as what somebody mentioned before, are blind boxes of stuff. And it's just fun. We've gone to Think Geek. We've gone to different places. Yes, Krista, you well know that. Yes, make sure that you have the trash cans near the teens, and I'll explain all that super fun that goes with that. But so they just love this. It looks like everybody's in. So some of you were correct. The food that made the teens drop out the quickest, pumpernickel bread. Shocked all of us that dark pumpernickel bread is what did teens in. Not bugs, not clams, although the clams were a close second. Pumpernickel bread. It made me laugh so hard. You saw teens walking away. It was the best moment ever. And there was a need for the trash can on a few of those. Yes, it's bread, but sweet goodness, you would have thought we were trying to poison them. So with the fear factor, we call it scary food, fear factor food. This is one of our years that we've done it. And what we do, and once again, this is something that we have kind of learned and grown with over the years, is the first year we had an official one, which would have been 2010. Teens would take drinks between each round, which meant they could get through almost anything. And there was another year where this was the year that I enacted this rule. Teens would hold their nose, and if you hold your nose, you can suck down almost anything. So this year, no drinks, no nose holding. How quickly can you get them out? And this was, we tend to put everything preset in teeny little cups. That way we can just hand it to the teens, and it's quick and quick and quick, and we just keep handing them stuff. There's very interesting and fun stuff. This was one of the years, and you can see some of the cute stuff. You can see mole crickets didn't scare a single teen, although the Turkish Delight made 4 of them drop out. Teens amaze me. And what we have learned, if you want to be truly evil, is that as you start going through the lines of what you're giving them is you change textures, you change flavors quickly, and the buildup of flavors and textures will get them quicker than anything else. It was super funny. Yes, Turkish Delight did them in. Yes, we all like to throw in our little book moments. Yes, the Lion Witch and the Wardrobe moments. So this year, this was our scary food buildup. And I'm just going to kind of give you a quick run across so that you can see what we do to the teens. First was baby clams. Oh, and I do always ask teens in the very beginning, does anybody have any allergies? Is anybody a vegetarian? Because I need to know that before I'm trying to hand them stuff that is going to cause them a problem. And we get the teens to line up, and because we have learned over the years through one or more accidents, you have garbage cans sitting in front of the group of teens. And the rule is if you're going to puke, you have to puke into the garbage can. You can't try to run and find a bathroom. Sadly, that's a rule we have to explain every year. So, very first you see baby clams. Oh, they are raw in their juice, Alita. Second is grass jelly, and then there was trying to look in there. There was the diving bugs. The diving beetles didn't phase. The girl who ran, thank you. Diving beetles didn't phase a solitary human being. Next was a spicy shrimp puff. They kind of taste like spicy, shrimpy flavored Cheetos, honestly. Next was a dark piece of black licorice. Then spicy peppers, a rose drink with basil seeds, kangaroo jerky, dried bento, 90% dark chocolate, what amounts to sardines, pickled beets, the ever so popular, where we brought it back to see if we could scare people, pumpernickel bread, hard-boiled quail eggs, and my favorite, the final one on this one, were these lovely bugs. Didn't scare a solitary person. It's really funny to see how many people will make it through. The bugs, not what does people in. It's amazing to me that the bugs rarely do people in, no matter what we've done to them. And what we had decided this year is these bugs with their lovely eyes staring back at you, with the lovely eyes staring at you, you get to look at it for just a second more. We only bought 3 of them, and we were like, usually by this point, there are teens that have dropped out. And I decided that, being the woman of the strong stomach, if the teens didn't drop out, I would just crack the bugs in half in front of them and split it into larger groups, figuring that would at least make somebody drop. I love you, Alita. So, but no, 3 people left. They sucked it down. It was hilarious. Didn't faze them. Pumpernickel bread totally phases them. Try not to ask teens too many questions about that. But what's really funny to us is that they look forward to this event so much. It becomes a draw that all the teens are there. All the teens are egging their friends on to just do it, to just keep going. And it is really cute because they take it as such a proud moment that I just love dealing with them over it. The fun thing that we learn about it is we have perfected it over the years. There's usually 2 or 3 of us that just set up all these little cups the hour before the cosplay starts, and then we have it sitting in the room covered with a tablecloth, because you don't want to have to try to wheel in, 90s teeny little cups and worry about things falling off. Pardon me. And when it's revealed, you see teens both scream in glee and in disgust. It's the best moment. Also, I'm a loud librarian, but I'm also a slightly evil librarian. So you have those fun little bugs, and it's one of the greatest contests. So there had been talk before about rules that go with different as you're walking into the anime and the cosplay. One of the things that became very important to us is the reminder that, yes, and some of the costumes tend to be skimpy on the side, even if they are covered, thigh up. Some people tend to think that if you're dressed up in a certain character, you are basically that character. And as come up in many different cosplays across the country, it's a reminder that cosplay is not consent. That means that just because you're something, that doesn't give people the right to touch you. So we have these signs up and a reminder to teens that if something goes wrong or something feels wrong, they can talk to librarians throughout the night. The room is covered with librarians covering food products and music, so there is never more than like 10 feet from where you can find a librarian, which is also the beauty of having all 3 counties, because staffing, much less of an issue if you can pull 3 or 4 librarians from each county and just have it sitting in there. So that is one of the good things. The one thing the last thing I kind of want to throw in with it, or actually there's 2 things, and then I'll shut up, is somebody had talked about weapons. We had to remind ourselves to have a rule of that, because it was 2 years ago, one of the people came dressed up, and the character does carry a shovel, but they came in carrying a metal shovel and tried to use it more than once. So that got librarian borrowed until their parents came and picked them up at the end of the night. So teens do need reminders. Heck, adults need reminders. The last thing I'm going to say is we don't bring in any outside partners. We just do it amongst ourselves to promote everything within it. But what the best part that comes with that is we also get a chance to promote our programs. So we always have a table set up with programs that are coming up at all 3 of the systems. And inevitably, and this is my favorite thing, you will see teens from other systems start showing up at yours, because you have shown them something that they might want to that they may not know otherwise. So it is really good. I wouldn't trade working with all 3 counties for anything. It is the most exhausting day, but it is one of the most fun days, and I look forward to it every year. And thank you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Valerie. That was great. That was terrible and terrifying and great. So, our last presenter for the afternoon is Bethany. She's here from the Oldham County Public Library. So Bethany, if you'd like to come on and take it away, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey everybody, I'm happy to be here with you. I am the Public Service Outreach Librarian for Oldham County, and we've gotten a lot of really great information today already, and I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to kind of breeze through some of this, maybe tell you a little bit about how ours is a little different. We are getting ready to go into our 3rd year of OC3, and OC3 is our comic convention, Oldham County Comic Con, thus the 3 Cs. This came about, I had long wanted to do one of these because I am a huge nerd, but I wasn't entirely sure how to get artists here and how to put it together. So we were contacted out of the blue by one of our patrons who just happened to work in the industry. He's a comic book letterer, and it had been his passion to see a Comic-Con in the county, and we just partnered right up. And so we provided the organization, the space for it, and he helped bring in the artists for it. This has become one of our biggest events. at our library. It's definitely a patron favorite. It brings in people who've never been into the library before, which is one of my favorite things about it. Our first year, we had about 3,600 people attend, which we were expecting a huge amount. I don't think all of our staff were prepared for how big it was going to be, but it was a hugely successful event both for us and for the vendors who participated. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did to set this up. That doesn't work to move slides, and getting back in here. Okay. So these were our posters for the first 2 years. The first one over there with Batman up at the top. We have our vendors. We choose one of the artists who's in attendance to design our poster early on. And we spend a year planning this event. So basically, as soon as this is over, we go straight into the planning for next year. We have an artist lined up who's going to be our featured artist for the poster. And then they give us that artwork to use for other promotion as well. And so we have the artist, and then Jonathan does the lettering for the posters. And we print these out and put them around, and then we also sell them at the event for $2-3, and the participants can get them signed by the artist, and they become collector's things, which is really, really fun. So the first artist there, we had Rick McGee, who I know has gone on to do a whole lot of library programs around the state now. He's wonderful. The poster from last year with Superman and Batman, that one was done by David Bjarnson, who is, again, a local comic book creator to this area. He lives in LaGrange. And I don't have our third poster to show you for this year, but it is Kevlin, who obviously we all love, who's designing that for us right now. Okay, so the biggest thing for us, one of the things we spend the most time on is actually plotting out where everything is going to go. We take over the entire library building, every single space, indoor and outdoors, staff areas, study rooms. We fill the entire thing up, and it involves lots and lots of measuring and planning out. We have about 40 vendors each year who come in, and one of the things that's a little bit different is we actually charge our vendors for tables, which is not anything I would have ever thought to do. But again, our industry partner said, no, you don't have to charge them a lot, but this will help you cover costs. And also, they are going to be selling things. They're making money off of this, and they need to take it seriously as well. And so for them to take you seriously, you need to charge them money. So we have registration that opens up usually at the beginning of the year for these spaces. Our booth space is only $30 for an all-day con, which is really, really inexpensive. And then what we provide for them is we provide the tables and the tablecloth and also a lot of hospitality. So we make sure that they have a meal and a meal ticket that they can go back to a quiet area and sit and eat. And that's something that really they appreciate a lot and has built a lot of loyalty within our artist vendors. Some of the things they've told me is that if they go to a professional con, they aren't treated like humans a lot of times. They don't get any amenities or anything. So us being able to provide that for them and develop a really great relationship has opened it up to us being able to work with them for other programs throughout the year, and they've come and donated their services for lots of different things. So over on the side there, you can kind of see what our floor plan is and how much space we take up. We do a superhero obstacle course outside for the little kids, which they absolutely love. We set up open gaming areas where we use our game library and make that available to people to stop and play. We have a kids craft area. We have a huge cosplay competition, which we set the rules for, but it is actually run by a local semi-professional steampunk organization. So we let them manage that and make sure that everyone's following the rules and so forth. We do panels throughout the day, and we've got a variety of those that I'll talk about later on. We invite food trucks out to stay outside the library so that our patrons who come and want to stay for the entire day, because it is an event that goes from 9 to 5, can go and get some food and sit outside and relax and enjoy that as well. Move ahead here. People have already talked a lot about this. You'll be surprised how many artists you have in your area. We are really lucky that we have a bunch that live in Oldham County, but also a bunch that live in Louisville, and they love coming out and doing these types of things. We actually do bring in artists from a little bit further out, so we kind of get artists from the tri-state area. We did have Janet K. Lee last year was one of our featured artists, and she's from Nashville. But we get a lot of artists from the Cincinnati area as well. It's really important to know the audience that you're going to be getting for this. We wanted to make sure that this was a family-friendly event. We knew we were going to get a lot of kids. I suspected that we were going to get a lot of teens, and I hoped that we were going to get a lot of adults. We had a huge age range show up, but at about halfway through the planning for our first year, our friends of the library, which were being really great partners with us and helping with us in producing this event, I got this really plaintive email from them about halfway through that's like, hey, we're really excited about this event. What is a Comic-Con? Which didn't occur to me that I needed to explain that a little bit further. So the graphic over there is something that we did to put up and share so that the people coming into the library who didn't know what it was about could feel comfortable about what it was and get a better idea about it. And we actually ran that as an ad in the local paper as well to promote it. And as you can see from the bottom picture, once our friends were on board with that, they fully jumped in. So that's our president dressed as a wizard from Harry Potter there. And one of our book sale volunteers, Earl, is there as a really awesome Batman. Okay, so the other thing is we charge for the booth space for the vendors. So we have an exhibitor contract that is very explicit and goes through a lot of things. And we had Jonathan, our coordinator, draw that up for us. That's listed on our website. We also have very specific cosplay rules, which we've gone over before as well. We make sure that all of this is available clearly on our website so that people can go and find it there. And if you want a copy of those contracts, you can find them on our website, or I'll be happy to email them to you if you contact me. Let's see. So promotion, what do we do for promotion? We do print those posters up. We take them to all the local comic book stores, all the businesses in the area. We do a lot of social media promotion. So there is an actual separate Facebook page for OC3 that we put out our announcements about vendor registration opening up and artist announcements and things like that, and people follow that independently. We also have a Twitter hashtag for the event each year that the artists and participants can go and talk about the event on. And then each year we do social media icons and Facebook banners that we make available to the artists and also the people who are coming so that they can use these and promote it as well. These are some pictures from some of our events. We have a professional photographer who happens to be one of our library clerks. So we have him come and take photos. We have a photo booth each year. You can kind of see in the background there how some of these tables are set up. The Pokemon car was a huge hit the first year. We had people who came out just to see that. And you can see some of the costumes. That up top, the werewolf there is one of the steampunk members who runs our cosplay contest. There's several pictures there in the center from our cosplay contest. And over here, that's our teen librarian and her teen librarian superhero cape that one of the cosplay artists created for her. The second year we did this, we moved the dates because the summer reading program was all about superheroes, and we let it be kind of our end of summer reading program party, and we did a lot of events throughout the summer to gear up for it. So we actually had an entire week of programming for all ages about cosplay. So we invited the local extension service to come out and teach teens how to sew. and we had about 15 different sewing machines set up in the meeting room and kids learning how to sew on a button and then going on to create their own capes and masks and things like that. We invited out a lot of professional cosplayers to come and teach how to make weapons. We do allow weapons, but we have to have certain rules within there. So how to make weapons, how to make armor, how to design a cosplay costume. So that was a lot of fun, and it really got the entire community involved in participating in the cosplay itself. Okay, so why is our event in particular successful? Why have we seen thousands and thousands of people coming to this each year? I think one of it is the fact that we do spend a year planning it, and I'm really, really particular about nailing down the floor plan, and then, of course, communicating with our vendors constantly and answering all their questions and things. We have great community buy-in from all sorts of areas that I wouldn't expect it, like the Friends of the Library and things like that. It's multi-generational, it's family-friendly. There's not a lot of cons that you can go to and expect it to be completely safe for all ages and still interesting for all ages. So that's one of the things we do well and I think people appreciate. And the other thing is there are some really, really good conventions, professional conventions that happen in Louisville, but you have to pay a lot of money to go to them. And there are people who either can't make it out there or don't have the money to spend. So this is an opportunity for them to kind of have that convention experience without having to shell out any money at all for it. Also, a lot of our success does come from the artists who participate. We've got really great artists, and that goodwill I mentioned before because, you know, we're grateful to have them and we show them that. They also do really, really well at this convention. I've had several of them tell me that in our one-day con, they make more in sales than they do in 3 days of the Fandom Fest in Louisville. So we want this to be successful for them. We want to keep a partnership going with them, and it's worked out really well so far. And that's really it for right now. I wanted to kind of go through that quickly. If you have any questions or anything, I'd be happy to talk with you later about that.
All right. Thank you very much, Bethany. It looks fabulous. What a successful event you guys have there. I think we're at the end of today's presentation. I'm just going to move to a slide that has everyone's contact information on it. Thank you all so much for being here today, and I really thank all of our presenters. This was spectacular. You guys clearly really love what you do, and it really comes across. Best webinar ever, Ashley said. So, yes, this is very cool. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, you can download your own copy of these slides. The PDF is there in the download pod in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So you just click on that and click the button underneath it that says download file. Let me know if you need any help with that. And as I mentioned at the beginning as well, I'll be sending out an email with a certificate of attendance to you guys. And we did record this webinar, so please feel free to go back and review it or share it with your colleagues. Show it to anybody at your library that you think you could get on board to do a Fandom event at your library or maybe improve the one you're doing. So this was fabulous. Thank you again. Jessica and Amy, Lindsay, Leah, Valerie, and Bethany, you guys rock. That was awesome. So thank you all so much for attending. Whenever you're ready to exit, just click the X in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And for our presenters, you can just hang up the phone whenever you're ready. Thank you so much.